Today we're going to talk about when you should give up on trying to get your ex back. And I figured in order to make this video unique, I was going to do something that most of my peers don't do. Instead of giving you general ideas of when you should be giving up, I'm going to get really specific. I've looked at many different situations, hundreds of people who have failed to get their exes back, and specifically looked at what patterns developed. But if you're anything like me, sitting through a 9-minute video might be too long. So if you want a quick fresh up on figuring out if you have a chance of getting your ex back, my best recommendation for you is to actually go to our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, and take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz. It's a simple 2-minute quiz designed to tell you what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back and whether or not it's a good idea if you should give up. If you want to take the quiz, simply look in the description link below this YouTube video, click on that link, and it will take you directly to the quiz where you can answer all the questions to get your score. All right, let's get started. Situation number 1. Your ex has not responded to your last 5 attempts to start a conversation. There are 2 areas where my clients consistently struggle. The first is with a no contact period, specifically staying in line with a no contact period. But the second is figuring out how to get an ex to respond to their text messages. Over years of split testing and finding out what really works, we have developed a criteria for how you should craft your first text message after a no contact rule. We're happy to say that most of the time we do get pretty positive responses from ex-boyfriends after this no contact rule for our clients, but every once in a while you'll find that there's one guy who is super stubborn. You've reached out, you wait a week, you reach out again, no response. You wait a week, you reach out again, no response. This continues for 5 weeks straight, and next thing you know, you feel like you're talking to a wall. Now, this is extremely problematic because if you're wanting to try to get your ex back, you need to introduce some type of conversation between the two of you to bridge the gap. But if your ex isn't open to that conversation, it's going to be pretty impossible to get them back. So where did we come up with the number 5? Why 5 reach outs? Well, we find that if our clients use our specific first contact criteria, we tend to get responses pretty easily right off the bat. But every once in a while, you'll run into those, like I said, stubborn ex-boyfriends who will not respond to you. Well, we figured out that after about 5 attempts of reaching out to them and getting no response whatsoever, it might be time to move on and look at greener pastures. Situation number 2. They've been with someone new for longer than 8 months. The number one biggest fear for people who are trying to get their exes back is that their ex is going to meet someone new and live happily ever after, leaving you in the dust. Most of the time, experts will point at the fact that, well, if they've moved on, it surely means that they're in a rebound relationship. I found that the truth is a little bit more of a gray area. There are 2 characteristics that can define whether or not your ex is in a rebound relationship. The first one is how quickly they've moved on after you. Typically speaking, the faster they move on, the more likely it is to be a rebound relationship. But number 2 is how long they've been with that person. This is where we get a little tricky because technically your ex could be in a rebound for longer than 6 months and it's still considered a quote-unquote rebound relationship. But I find that 8 months really does the trick. If your ex has moved on very quickly and is still with that new person for longer than 8 months, then it's highly likely that it's developed past a rebound. You share certain things when you're with someone for that long. So if you find that your ex has moved on to someone new and they're with that person for longer than 8 months, might be time to move on. Situation number 3. You've been on a hard block for longer than 3 months. Not a lot of people realize this, but there are 2 ways in which you can be blocked. There's the hard block and the soft block. Now, what separates the 2? Well, the hard block is just like it sounds. It's hard. There's no way that you can reach out to your ex without running into that wall of being blocked. They've blocked you on your phone, social media, anywhere else you can think of. That is a hard block. A soft block, on the other hand, is completely different. Maybe you've been blocked in the main way that you used to communicate. You used to text a lot, so your ex has blocked you on the phone, for example, but there's still many different ways that you can reach out to them. Facebook, Instagram. You're still able to communicate with them. We're not really caring about soft blocks in this instant. What we're caring about are hard blocks, specifically if you've been blocked for longer than 3 months. Now, why 3 months? Well, that seems to be the magic number, but one thing that you need to realize about human behavior when they're blocking you is there's this ping pong effect. Oftentimes when they block you, they get envious or curious about what you're doing and unblock you so that they can figure out on social media what you're up to. But every once in a while, you'll run into those extremely stubborn men who want to shut the door on the relationship completely and will leave you blocked permanently. We find that after 3 months, if you've been in a hard block and they've not even done this ping pong behavior, which is pretty normal, it might be time to move on. Situation number 4, you have broken the no contact rule more than 8 times. 80% of the clients that we work with who try the no contact rule end up breaking it. But what does that mean? Well, it means if you've determined that you want to use a 30-day no contact rule on your ex, for example, you cannot make it the entire 30 days without reaching out to them or responding to them when they reach out to you. It's important that you get through this entire no contact period unscathed, because if you, around day 14, for example, break it, you have to start over from day 1. Now, one thing that people don't quite realize is that every time you have to redo a no contact period, it becomes less effective. Just like watching a movie. The first time you watch a movie, you're going to experience the emotions of the story at the fullest. When you watch it again and again and again, you can still experience those emotions, but they're not going to be as effective. Now, why am I saying that you need to break it 8 times in order to give up? Well, we find that it's pretty common for our clients to break it a couple of times and still see some pretty great success. For example, one of the most recent success stories that we had throughout our website or our properties was someone who broke the no contact rule 3 times before she finally got through it. But we find 8 is extremely excessive. In fact, if you've tried the no contact rule 8 different times on the same man, it's probably not going to work. Situation number 5, you get pity responses in more than 10 conversations in a row. Now, what are pity responses? Well, I'm sure you've been there where you have been talking to a man, for example, that you're not interested in, but you feel a little sorry for them, so you just keep the conversation going. Oftentimes, there are 2 defining characteristics of a pity response. The depth of the response isn't really great, meaning you're talking about things that aren't interesting, or you're just trying to get an end to the conversation very quickly, and how long the words you're using are. For example, let's say that you and your ex are having a conversation. You put a lot of thought into your text messages to him, but he simply responds with 1-word responses. Thanks, or yeah, I agree. Something like that that is short and doesn't have a lot of depth can be considered a pity response. Now, some of this is a little blasé in the fact that you're going to have to go by your own gut feeling. But like I said, if you're looking and have 10 straight conversations where you're getting nothing but pity responses to every single text message, it's probably not time to try to get your ex back yet. Hey, thank you so much for getting to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you didn't make any of those common mistakes. Now, if you want videos like this, all you have to do is simply look and subscribe to our channel. And if you're wanting, like I said, a very quick way of figuring out what your chances are of getting your ex back, my highest recommendation for you is to look at our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, and take our ex recovery chances quiz. Simply looking in the description link below and clicking on it will get you there. Now, like I said, subscribe to our channel and hit that bell notification if you get a chance, because it will give you updates on when I post a new video and when I respond to your comments. I'll see you guys next time.